All right, we're back on sports, and you know what? This weekend, lots of ups and downs in sports, a lot of great times and woes, and I believe it's been entertaining the entire time through. So I can't get too mad. However, before I get started on this, I got a bone to pick with Xfinity because I'm trying to figure out why you guys keep taking my shit.
Entering the gates of hell where there's no Wi-Fi and no shows, aka Grandma's.
You know, when it starts hitting major commercials, it's time to kill it. Rest in peace. Jesus Christ. You couldn't... Why you gotta ride my shit? Okay, whatever. Let's move on, shall we? Can we do that? Before I get started on the Philadelphia Eagles, I want to say congratulations to the Philadelphia Flyers. That's right. For those who don't know, Philadelphia Flyers. They gave us a good, a month of hockey, 10 games. Gave us a good month of hockey. I know some of you about to say, what do you mean good month? It was great. It was amazing. It was phenomenal. No, it was just good. That's what it was. It was good. And I'll put it like this. You have to understand, a lot of people got caught up in the winning, in the hot streak. And it's like, hey, if you're on a hot streak, like I said, I feel sorry for anybody who's got to play against the Flyers during their hot streak. I feel sorry for them. And then I say, wait a minute. No, I don't. So, but you have to understand, all right, that this is only good hockey. Good. I say this due to the fact that the defense is still a problem. A lot of people are saying the defense is gelling. Have you seen those scores? You look at those box scores, all right? There's times where the Flyers had to win 7-5. That's not a hockey game. First off, you shouldn't even be giving up 5-6 goals, all right? That goes to show you how bad the defense is, all right? It also goes to show you that Flyers, they have to come back. They have to have that output of offense in order to match it, if not greater, in order to win games. That is a problem, and you're not going to get that night after night after night. Like I said, they put together 10 games, and they did great. They did great. It's good. Listen, good performance due to the fact that they kept showing resiliency. They kept coming back, but that's the problem. You shouldn't have to keep coming back. All right? Do people understand what I'm saying here? You shouldn't have to, and for those who don't know, Flyers at one point led the league in goals given up in the third period. The league, all right? Which means, once third period comes, you might as well cross your fingers and pray that the Flyers don't give one up. That's the problem. On Sunday, the Flyers played, and what happened? They were up 1-0, and then, their opponent scored 2 unanswered. That's right, 2 unanswered. Flyers lost. They had a chance near the end, but you have to also understand, you can't, look, on a power play near the end of the game, and you're shooting at the damn blue line. No. Not trying to hear it. So yeah, Flyers screw themselves. But you have to also understand, like I said, once again, the Flyers have defensive problems. If you go back and you look at those scores, once you're getting into the 3-4 range when it comes to goals, all right, and your offense isn't there that night, you have a problem. And it's been this way consistently for a while. So while everyone is all, just ride it out, just enjoy it for what it is, no. Look at the reality of things. Okay? The Flyers, once they're off their hot streak, what's going to happen? If they're still giving up 3, 4, 5 goals, 6 goals. Yeah, we beat the Red Wings 1-0 once, but guess what? Before that, Red Wings beat us. I believe they scored like 6 goals on us. So you have to understand that these things are going to happen when you don't have that offense every night, night in and night out. Now, of course, you're saying, well, look at our personnel. We should have that offense. You have to understand that not all the time it's going to click. So, with the Flyers, like I said, it was a good streak. I'm proud of them. You know what I mean? But people also have to understand that, of course, it wasn't going to last forever. It would have been nice if they went through. A lot of people say last time they did this, they went to the Stanley Cup. Yeah, but that was a different time. That was a different feel. Also, remember, when they went to the Stanley Cup in 2010, the Flyers barely made the playoffs. Remember that. They barely made the playoffs. So, this is a thing that we've seen in the previous couple of seasons, have we not? It always comes down to late that we have to get into the playoffs. And then we have to go and we have to pretty much battle in the first round against the best, some of the best opponents. And, of course, there's times where we beat them and then we get in the second round and we just die out right there. Or because we've used so much energy, playing those opponents, or we get into the first round and we just get the floor, we just get mopped up, and it's ridiculous. As far as I'm concerned, the Flyers have a lot of consistency issues. Granted, it can be worked on throughout this time, but I'm still not. I'll play this. We have the young talent. I am not sold on our coach. I'm not, because when you're looking at him at times, and the Flyers are getting killed, he's just like, not a big deal. No, it's a big deal. It's a big deal, especially for us fans. It's a big deal. So as far as I'm concerned, the Flyers are doing good. They got a slight boost in popularity now because people are starting to watch. As opposed to, the Eagles, being suck ass and the Sixers not doing much. And of course the Phillies are still off, they're in off season, so you can't say anything about them. At this point, it's one of those things where the Flyers are just taking the point. And if they do, then that's fine. You know what I mean? It deserves more attention, you know what I mean? But it goes to show you that these guys, when they get on a hot streak, they can roll. And when they roll, they're almost unstoppable. But like I said, defense is a problem for me. Defense is a huge problem. It is. I know a lot of people would say, well, Mason, he was a, defensive star, I believe in the month at one point. Yeah, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. When you're riding a hot streak, it's okay to look at that type of stuff. But when you've looked at Mason's body of work, all right, when it comes to this year, there's times where he's just giving up soft goals after soft goals, and you're just like, what the hell? You know what I mean? Yeah. And, of course, Mason still, all these years he's been here, he still has a problem skating behind the net and not getting back into the crease when he's trying to retrieve a puck. So, yeah, it goes to show you that there's still a lot of problems. There's a lot of inconsistency still with our defense. And you know what? You're going to get a good team that comes along and says, you know what, we can figure this out really quickly, and they're going to destroy us on that. So, as far as I'm concerned, like I said, it's okay to be happy that we have these wins, that we had this streak. It's something that the city needed. I feel the fans, to feel good about themselves for a while. But like I said, when you look at how things went, it was a good streak. Good. Wasn't great, wasn't phenomenal, wasn't all this other crap. They weren't like blanking out teams and just, no one was getting anything. It was just a complete shutdown. It wasn't that. It wasn't that at all. Okay? So, let's keep in perspective. We'll see what the Flyers have, in the future. Okay? Let's move on to the Eagles. Motherfuckers. Eagles. For the previous couple of weeks now, the Eagles have looked like ass. We know this. And like I said before in the beginning of the season, you got to keep things in perspective. So, you knew this team had a lot of problems. At this point, you shouldn't be getting upset and throwing shit and carrying on. No, there's no point. There's no point. You shouldn't be doing that anyway, all right? You shouldn't, all right? Especially if you're an adult. You shouldn't be doing that shit. I can understand tantrums from kids, but not fucking adults, all right? But, all right? The Eagles, I have to say this. A lot of fans have started blaming Lane Johnson for this. Oh, it's Lane Johnson's fault that the entire season has been bad. Not going to blame Lane Johnson. Was his news big? Was it huge? Yes, it was huge. He's a douchebag. He is, all right? And as far as I'm concerned, you find a replacement for him as soon as possible, and you get him the fuck out of here. That's how I feel, okay? However, it is not Lane Johnson's fault that this season went the way it did, all right? You want to know whose fault it is? And I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back and blame Chip Kelly. That's right. Because he's the one who dismantled our team. He's the one who took our pieces away, our weapons away from us, all right? He's the one. And then you leave us with this. There's nothing. That's what it is. You have to understand that it's a problem. It is. Okay? So, yes, I blame Chip Kelly. I don't blame Lane Johnson for the entire season being screwed. Lane Johnson didn't do anything about that horrible-ass secondary out there who wants to showboat every time they get a stop, or even if the front gets a stop, and then they want to come along and showboat with them, but then when you get burned, you don't say a damn thing. Lane Johnson isn't at fault for that. Not at all. Players acting a fool, getting penalties. Like I said, too much showboating in general. Overall, offense and defense. That's not Lane Johnson's fault. It's not. So I'm not going to blame Lane Johnson for this entire season. However, Carson Wentz, we have to have this talk about our quarterback. I've told you before, yes, he is a rookie. He's going to make rookie mistakes. But there are simple things. I told you before, there's things that are just inexcusable. There are times inexcusable. All right, you overthrew a ball at times. Okay, the wind took it. Whatever, that's fine. But when you're staring your receiver down and you see him in double coverage, you do not throw that fucking ball. Do you understand that? See? And you try to squeeze it in. I get it. But those type of plays don't work. There's times when you're trying to extend the play, which I understand as well, but you should know when you have that much pressure, you throw the fucking ball away. There's no, I'm going to spin off, try to roll out, and then lose 10 yards in the process. That doesn't help anything. It doesn't. Now, Carson Wentz has drastically changed his play style from the beginning of the season to now midseason. And it's hard to watch. It is. I haven't seen really any audibles that much. What she's supposed to be hailed for. I see him just going out there, looking at the defense and just calling the snap. Even when there's times where you can see these guys are stacked in the box. Okay, they're stacked. They're coming to blitz. You should be changing it to keep the defense honest. Not doing that. They're just running the play. And I don't understand why. Is there something that we missed between this time where either Carson Wentz, because for what we hear, this guy studies and studies. He's always in there. He's always constantly studying. So is it Carson Wentz that's not picking up on these cues because he's not studying anymore? Or is it Doug Peterson telling him, look, just run the play, don't audible? There has to be something that we are missing here. There has to be some type of communication barrier that we have not seen. And because of this, because we've seen a number of our offensive linemen go down, of course, here comes the media. That's right, because now they're saying to you, well, they're putting the bug out there. They're asking fans, but they also asked, Doug Peterson, should Carson Wentz be sat down simply because the offensive line isn't there? You see Doug Peterson's face? I'd have gave him the same look. Fuck wrong with you? Look, I'll put it like this. We've talked about this previous seasons with Nick Foles. Remember, when Nick Foles had to do this and his offensive line was depleting, they said the same thing. Should you sit Nick Foles down so that he doesn't get hurt because the offensive line is hurt? No. You still need to get that experience. Carson Wentz still needs the experience. Whether he has a healthy line or he has a messed up line, quarterback, your leader of your team, has to be able to play through the ups and downs. It's that simple. Now, I know some people want to see, the backup come in. They want to see Chase play. I personally don't want to see him play just yet due to the fact that Carson Wentz needs this experience. He is a rookie quarterback. Let him get the experience. Let him know exactly where he's messing up. Now, of course, like I said, once again, we can talk about weapons for Wentz due to the fact, that should be a hashtag right now, weapons for Wentz. I don't know if it is already. But it's this simple. You can't sit and blame Carson Wentz just for everything. Has he made some bad decisions? Yes. He's made a lot of bad decisions, all right? But there's also times where you see flashes of brilliance. Now, of course, people are going to be critical about that because of the 50-50. They can see the negative in it instead of the positive, where you have to also understand that there's an upside to this guy. Now, a lot of people feel as though he's been given the keys just a little bit too early in this season, to play. But if you think about it, without him, we wouldn't be in the situation we are now. Granted, what happened at the end of that football game, and I said on Twitter, I'll say it again, I am not upset with the call to go for two because you play to win the game. That's what you do, all right? Just so happens the ball was batted down. Now, of course, a lot of people were saying, well, they didn't run the ball really. Ryan Matthews, he had, 128 yards? He wasn't out there to even try to fool the defense. If the defense is stacked in the box, all right, you have to throw the pass in order to keep the defense honest. So I'm not mad at the play that was called, all right? But people aren't giving Wentz credit for marching downfield and getting them into that position either, which is a problem, okay? So, you have to understand, you have to look at both sides of the spectrum, all right? You got to take the good and the bad. So when people get mad and say, fuck Wentz, blah, 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 look, he did this and it was batted down, it's his fault, it's like, but he got us all the way up there. And you know what? In those situations, it's 50-50. We don't have a shot. We're mathematically, we're out of the playoffs. What do we have to lose? What do we have to lose? Nothing. So you let them do it. You go ahead and do it. You know what I mean? I can understand if it was going for two and Doug Pearson just called a bonehead play and was just like, what the fuck? But that wasn't the case here, all right? It wasn't the case. The case was just the pass got batted down. That's all it was. Now, would the pass would have been caught? We don't know, all right? Coverage was kind of tight right there. But hey, what can you do? Like, no one also wants to give Wentz credit the fact that he ran in and got a touchdown. But whatever. Alright? It's okay. So, yeah, it goes to show you that this is one of these things where you have to look at everything, the entire body of work when it comes to Carson Wentz. Like I said, I feel as though he's slacking. I really do. Like I said, he's not commanding the offense. He's not putting the defense on skates. He's not really carving them up. And, of course, you can't carve them up that much. Like I said, a really good quarterback, even with our offensive line and those bad receivers, could actually do some damage, all right? But he's not taking the time out, I don't feel, to call audibles, to see the holes, to also see, who's the mic guy. You know what I mean? You know who your leader on defense is. When you're playing against them, you know who's going to call that. You know who's going to call the shift. You know when they're going to call it. You hear it all the time. You know when they're pointing it out. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things, once again, you have to be able to pick up on. Carson Wentz still has a lot to learn. Like I said, rookie quarterback, so you have to give him somewhat of a pass. But some of those decisions he's making are unacceptable. They just are. Now, like I said, weapons for Wentz. Let's talk about this. Running game. As we know, running game, granted, Matthews had a good game, but as we know, Sproles was hurt because of the Washington Redskins game because he got hit illegally, and that was a nasty hit. Player was fine. Okay, whatever. I don't think that's enough. Because clearly that was intentional. He's just running, and he's just He didn't let up. He knew what he was doing. He saw the target. He won. It was malicious, as far as I'm concerned. It was malicious. But you have to understand that these receivers aren't doing enough. They're just not. And we're going to talk about that right now. Because these receivers, they love to talk shit, especially on Twitter. That's right. But when Eagles fans give them a dose of reality, they have a problem with that. Now, I really don't see that much of a problem with this tweet. You know what I mean? I mean, let's be honest here. That's common sense, right? You get paid to catch the ball. If you do your job, fans aren't going to care that you were playing music in your car or whatever, right? I mean, it's kind of common sense, and it's not malicious. It's not nasty. It's not like anyone's being cursed or anything, right? Right? So it's not a problem. Are you fucking serious? So you blocked him for giving you some common sense, a dose of truth. He didn't yell at you. He didn't curse you out. He didn't call you a bunch of damn names. He didn't say you suck and everything, did he? No. He simply said you get paid to catch the ball. You pay to catch the ball, hey, guess what's going to happen? People are going to forget the fact that, you were playing music in your car. Not that big of a deal. And you block him. So, Trigger, I guess we should just call you Triggered from now on. Triggered Tregs as far as I'm concerned. Because you've got to be kidding me that you're blocking fans. I understand that Eagles players do this a lot with the Eagles fan base. They block a lot of fans. All right? And I can understand if you're being nasty to players, professionals, if you're calling them out or you call them a bunch of names or you're threatening their lives and everything. I could understand that. But in this case, this is not an issue. And for you to block somebody, oh, they real salty when you block them. So you tried to act like a troll, act like you were doing something, being a smart ass. Then when someone came and gave you along some truth, then you're going to go block them as well. My question is, what type of respect do you think this fan base will give you when you're doing shit like this? That's what I don't understand. It seems like a lot of these players don't understand it. We just saw it not too long ago, last night with Lane Johnson. Fly, Eagles, fly. And all it was just people sending him memes of just shut up. No one wants to hear, who are you? What? No one wants to hear from him. These players seem to still not understand the responsibility that they hold, especially in this city. And that's a problem. Because if you're all about yourself, Trigger, if you're all about yourself, Secondary, if you're all about yourself, Lane Johnson, then guess what? We don't need you. We don't. If you're not going to provide a quality performance on the field for us to win, and you're still bumping your fucking gums, you're still running your mouth, no one wants to hear you. Nobody cares. So, of course, if you play like trash, people are going to say it. But that wasn't the case here, was it? But here's another thing that we need to talk about as well, okay? And we talked about this not too long ago with Phillies fans, all right? And you know what I'm talking about. You see it every day with Sixers fans, with Phillies fans. And I'll show you some examples with Sixers fans as well. But with Phillies fans, we talked about enablers, didn't we? We talked about that. So here's the thing, all right? When the Phillies were doing really bad, right, and blowing games at the end, we had enablers come along and say, it's okay, it's all right, you shouldn't be worried about that, there's always a next game. And the rest of us was like, oh, no, the hell you didn't. No, he blew that game. Let him take that flack for blowing that game. Let him take the responsibility for blowing that game. Yes, he should automatically know what's going on. But if you're going to act like you just have a short-term memory, it doesn't matter, then guess what? Those fans that paid all that money to go see you, yeah, it's going to be a problem. It is. And once again, with the Eagles, after Tregs started blocking Eagles fans, we had enablers come along. That's right. And this has to be the dumbest thing I've ever seen. So let me get this straight, because this is translation if you read that, all right? This guy who's supposed to be a Philly fan, I don't consider him a Philly fan. He's just a stan, as far as I'm concerned. He's not an Eagles fan. He's not a Phillies fan. He's not a Philadelphian in general, if you ask me, all right? Because nobody would be that stupid to say something like that. You were saying that it's the fan base's fault that the Eagles don't have star players. That's what you just said, all right? Because you want a dick ride. Trigger Tregs, because you want a dick ride. Look, and then you say being annoyance. How is that being annoyance? Telling him that you get paid to catch the ball. If you do well, the fans will overlook these things that you're doing, these little antics. How is that an annoyance? Telling the truth is now an annoyance. That's what we're getting at right now. And then you blame the fan base for not having star players. So, it's not Chip Kelly's fault that he got rid of our star players. It seems as though you don't remember this, or, like I said, you weren't a fan to begin with. But It's not true. It's the fan base's fault that we don't have star players. That's what she's saying. I remember not too long ago, John Kruk came out and said during his induction that if you can't make it in Philly, it's because you have no heart. It's because you're a coward. Because you didn't have the heart to make it. And now we've got this clown telling us, fans, that it's our fault because, we make the contracts, we do all this stuff. Yeah, it's our fault that we don't have star players. Yes. You can't make this shit up. You can't. It's so stupid. But this is what we mean when we say you can't listen to Eagles. I told you, Eagles Twitter is the worst. It is the absolute worst. And with this being said, when this is happening, you saw other enablers. Eagles fans are the worst when it comes to this. So let me get this straight. San Francisco 49ers fans and Raiders fans are shooting each other in the parking lot over their fucking football teams. Every week we're seeing people get punched in the damn stands. But Eagles fans are the worst fan base simply for telling Trigger Treggs that he gets paid to catch the ball. I swear, man, these people are so fucking jaded. They just are. It's almost like they look for a reason to talk shit about Eagles fans. I think someone's been drinking the Kool-Aid too much when they keep seeing these highlights on ESPN or any other news, outlet. Eagles fan did something. He did something. He's doing a snowball. He did something. That's the worst thing we've ever seen. I think they've been drinking the Kool-Aid way too much. Way too much. It's actually pretty pathetic. The fact that fans are being blamed for players not being there when fans are just cheering and booing. Let's be honest here. Last time we saw any type of fan altercation is when people wanted Andy Reid gone. Remember, a father and son wanted Andy Reid gone. They held up a banner across the street from, the complex center. And what happened? Kelsey and, at the time, was it Mathis? Went over there and tried to beat him up. Yeah, tried to intimidate him and threatened to beat him up. That's the only time we've really seen, as of late, fans in altercations with players. Mind you, an old guy, old man, father, and his son holding up a banner. Apparently, that makes us the worst fan base ever, and that's why we don't deserve star players. You can't be stupid. You can't be. It's impossible to be fucking stupid. But since we're on stupidity, I guess we should talk about stupidity. I guess we should. Okay? Skip Bayless. We have seen for a while Skip Bayless trying to fit into this Cowboys mantra in the fan base of the Dallas Cowboys. And he's just going to try and pretty much take off the Cowboys jockstrap, put it on his face, and just run with it. That's what he's trying to do, right? We've seen this week in and week out. He tries to cheer on the Cowboys, right? And then tries to make fun of the Eagles at the same time, which doesn't work due to the fact that we should know that Skip Bayless, especially on Twitter, we know by now that Skip Bayless doesn't run his own Twitter. You have to be kidding me if you really believe that Skip Bayless runs his own Twitter. It's okay to @Skip and, and you Skip, say, hey, Skip, you're wrong, and actually say it's actually Skip because it is his certified Twitter. But as we know, it's not him. We've talked about this before, but now we have more issues about this because for those who don't know, Skip Bayless on Facebook, or should I say his intern, or whoever's doing, his Facebooking and, his Twitter for him, messed up. Because he tried to give himself a pat on the back and forgot to log out as his own name. Oh, but there's more. That's right. Now, when you go on his Twitter, because people were already talking about it, if you audit his Twitter, it's less than 80%, which means he's got a lot of fake accounts. The reason this is brought up is because for a while now, even when he's with ESPN, when Skip Bayless began to receive all these followers, people began to blame ESPN for, paid followers. And that's a big thing because, of course, you want to make him, they're trying to make him look bigger than what he really is. And let's be honest here, Skip Bayless is a brand at this point. You have to understand, when he was on First Take, before it was called Cold Pizza, when he was on First Take, Skip Bayless would not do his own research. We've known this for a while, but for those who are new to this, he did not do his own research. He had his own research team to look up things behind the scenes. And then when it came to time to debate, that's why you always saw those papers. Yes, because, he had to get himself together. He had his own team. So behind the scenes, you didn't see behind the camera who would do all this research for him and then say, okay, here's what you need to know. Go out there and debate Stephen A. or whoever guest you're going to have today. That's how it worked. Same thing now with Twitter and his Facebook. It's not him. It's other people that have been hired to portray him. It's not real. So, As far as I'm concerned, Skip Bayless, because Skip Bayless doesn't have time to be doing this, but of course they keep up with the information with him. Skip Bayless has done this time and time again. And of course now that his system has moved over from ESPN to Fox Sports 1, Fox Sports 1 is trying to promote him even harder now. During halftime shows and stuff, they're actually showing segments of things that he would say. It's not just, in football. No, it's also because, and I showed you not too long ago, the fact that it's his show is doing really bad. It took a huge drop in numbers. But it's also in UFC. Not too long ago, if you didn't watch over the weekend, Skip Bayless had his own segment on Fox Sports 1 when it came to UFC, talking about Ronda Rousey, how this fight that she's about to have, her heart's not in it. And I'm thinking to myself, what do you mean her heart's not in it? Not only is it a comeback fight, but it's a title fight. Of course her heart's going to be in it. It's a title fight. So as far as I'm concerned, Skip Bayless, again, he's a paid professional troll. That's what he does. He gets paid to say a lot of outlandish things. Now, I know a lot of people like to see that. They like to be entertained by his antics, all right? A lot of them have admitted, even on Twitter, well, I know the guy's full of it, but I still want to watch it just to laugh. Here's the problem with that, okay? When you support such garbage, you also have to understand that paves the way for other people to act reckless. That's what it does. You get paid to not know sports. That's what you're getting paid to do now, all right? You've seen this from other people like Colin Cowherd, Jason Whitlock, and what happened with them. Now they're on Fox Sports 1, aren't they? And they're doing horrible ratings. Colin Cowherd's show at one point had a 0.01 rating or something like that. Like, you have to understand, this is why you constantly see a lot of promotion for these guys, and especially with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp, where they say, it's America's fastest growing channel, fastest growing show. It's not. They just want to keep saying that because they want to entice you. Well, if everyone else is doing it, that means I should tune in. You have to understand, when you support such garbage, you're going to open the door for more garbage to come along. This is why you see shock jock radio, radio type style, commentary now when it comes to sports. You have to understand that, okay? You are opening the door for lack of quality. And if you think that's okay because you want to be entertained instead of, hey, being told knowledgeable things in sports, common sense things in sports, learning about sports, if you haven't played sports, as opposed to these guys just saying things that, and it's not even their feelings, they're just saying it because they know it's going to sell, it's going to get you, it's going to try and trigger you to say, what the hell, that's wrong, how dare you, blah, blah. That's what they want. Look at the system, look how it's set up. Okay? That's all you have to do. And that's the problem. We know that Skip Bayless he couldn't debate anybody, I don't think, at this point. He has no idea what the hell he's talking about. Neither does Stephen A. Smith. But if Stephen A. just yells enough, then he thinks he can get away with it because he's got the preacher complex. Skip Bayless doesn't. But he thinks as though since he's been doing it for so long, regardless what he says, we'll get a pass. Because he could say the moon is red forever. The moon is flat. The earth is flat. And there will be people who will say, oh my God, I can't believe he said that, and then other people will say, I believe you, Skip Bayless. Once you hit a certain style, I guess, of, I don't even want to say celebrity, because you have to also understand, these aren't celebrities. These are guys who sit around and talk about sports. They're not celebrities. Just because they have a camera on them doesn't mean they're celebrities. Just like people shouldn't be celebrities for being fans of said team. We see this with the Sixers. Look at that fat guy that goes around the Sixers all the time with the bad wig on, and he's like 300 pounds. Everybody wants to take pictures with him because he's a larger-than-life personality, but you shouldn't be a celebrity for being a fan of a team. That makes no sense whatsoever. So as far as I'm concerned, all right, you have to understand that at the end of the day, that these guys, these media whores, because that's what they are, they're media whores. They get out there, they do their shows, and guess what? Any right-minded civil fan would not watch this stuff. You're watching it, those who watch it, you can tell. They're watching it because they're waiting for him to say something absolutely stupid, and then say, yeah, you should see what he said here. But what you're failing to understand is that that's what he wants. It doesn't matter what he says. You're giving him the attention that he wants. Paid troll. Anyways, let's move on, shall we? I want to talk about some sports. So, let's talk about Chelsea. Let's talk about the EPL. Let's talk about football overseas. Yeah, it's been pretty good. Been a pretty good couple of weeks. I can't really say much about Chelsea due to the fact that, top of the table. Can't say much. The players are playing, how they should be. Everything's clicking on all cylinders. The goals aren't really there, at times. Don't get me wrong. They're still winning. They're still clean sheets. But you can tell by the chances they have, the attempts on net, and how they just miss goals. It's just like, come on, guys. You got to finish that. You have to. Defense looks great. I'm a little worried that players are getting a little too aggressive in the back. You know what I mean? I'm getting a little worried about that. They haven't been called for it yet, but something tells me during the stretch of this season, it's going to start being called, and they're going to have to stop that. You know what I mean? But they look good. There's talks of Diego Costa getting an extension, so he'll be here till 2021. He'll be at Chelsea. We shall see. Hazard still looks good. There's a number of players that just look great, and I can't be mad. Right at this point, it's high fives all around for Chelsea fans, as far as I'm concerned. Like I said, and the Chelsea fans who stuck by them. I'm not talking about the ones who decide to be a traitor and then all of a sudden want to come back. No, fuck you. You can get out of here. I don't care about them. You know what I mean? But, no, it's been looking good. I can't really say much bad about Chelsea. They're doing what they need to do to win. They're on top of the table. And to be honest, I don't see anyone making a push. Liverpool's right behind us, but I don't really see them making that hard push near the end. I just don't. I don't see any team really making a hard push to say, hey, they can do this. I feel as though, I'm going to say within the next 5 games, if Chelsea wins the next 5 games, I believe I'm on board to say we're going to win the season. We're going to win it all. Those next 5 games. That's all I want to say. I'm not going to wait until April. Nah, not waiting until April, dog. April. Not doing that. All right? I'm going to say next 5 games, if they play this, and I mean really well. And when I say this, I don't mean just win the game. I'm talking about full control, possession. Look at the corners. Look at, you know what I mean? Like, just absolute efficiency. That's what I want to look at. I don't want to hear, just going to break down near the end. No. They keep playing at this level, they're going to win. That's simple. So we'll see what happens in the next 5 games. All right? Been good. But can't complain. However, what I will complain about is the Griffin Force flop of the week. Yeah. Now, we've seen a lot of flops come and go in this previous couple weeks. But the one that still sticks with me, that pisses me off the most, Marcus Smart. Got to talk about this. We know that Marcus Smart last season, right? We know that he had that flop and that he was fine. And a lot of people wanted him suspended for the playoffs. I personally felt as though he should have been suspended. At one point, I was like, nah, he shouldn't be suspended. The next point, I was like, yeah, he should be suspended. Because you keep looking back and you replay that flop. Yeah, he should be, something should be done about that. Well, here he goes again.
But does he really hit him? I don't think so.
Absolutely egregious. I'm sick of this. I just am. The NBA, if you're not going to take yourself seriously, I'm not going to take you seriously. Adam Silver has to be able to sit back and say, look, this is crazy. All right? You're looking at these things like a fine clearly isn't enough. Last time you fined Marcus Smart, and it was like, okay, you fined him. Where'd he get him? Because he's doing it this season again. Obviously, a fine isn't enough. A message needs to be sent. And if Adam Silver isn't going to send a message, well, then fuck you then. Fuck you. Seriously. Like I said, I watch these games. It doesn't matter what team. I watch these games for competition and basketball. Entertainment, because I find competition entertaining. So I watch these games, all right? And for you to sit here and just, I'll allow it. It's a mockery. It is. It's a mockery of not just basketball and everything it stands for. It's a mockery of competition overall. And for the NBA to be just, okay, people will get over that. People will get over it. No, they won't. You have to understand that at the end of the day, there's someone outside right now. I guarantee you, outside right now. It's like 20 degrees outside. Outside right now, practicing their jump shot. Out in the cold. Because they love basketball. Because they possibly have the dream of basketball saving their lives and getting them out of a bad neighborhood. And possibly go to the NBA and make something of themselves. But when they see this type of shit on TV, it doesn't help. Because they're not equipped for that. No. They're not equipped. They're not taking acting lessons where they got to throw themselves on the ground. It's absolutely a joke that Adam Silver would think, okay, we can just leave this how it is and it doesn't need to be cleaned up. We'll just institute a fine rule. Yeah, because fining a guy $15,000 is enough. when they get paid millions upon millions. Not to mention, if the guy is doing it to help his team win, because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get over to help the team win. Do you not think that eventually that ownership is going to be like, don't worry about it, guy. We got you. We'll pay for it. We'll pay it for you. Don't worry about it. We'll find a way to make it up to you. Like, come on. Obviously, the fines that are in place are a joke. And, of course, we're still seeing where superstars get the, they get, let's say, we already know about superstar calls, but they get the benefit of the doubt. We saw Dwayne Wade just a couple weeks ago, and I showed you on camera. Dwayne Wade is flopping like a damn fish. Did he get fined for that? No. Did he get a warning for that? No. Did he get suspended for it? No. And if someone lesser than Dwayne Wade did that, I guarantee they'd be fined. It's disgusting. It is. Let's move on to more basketball. I'll come back to the pros later. I want to talk about college basketball. That's right. Now, I've been watching a lot of college basketball. I was very disappointed when I watched Temple versus Villanova because I thought, not because Villanova won, I thought that it would be more competitive, and it was pretty much a blowout. It pretty much was. I was kind of sad about that because I like to see Temple and Villanova get together and play. I will say the biggest game that I saw last week, for those who did not see it over the weekend, great game. Syracuse versus Georgetown. That's right. Now, mind you, this is a rivalry, all right? So this goes back to when Ewing played for Georgetown. Syracuse versus Georgetown was so good. And it wasn't until, near the end where it started becoming a clusterfuck because Georgetown started having these weird turnovers, and, of course, Syracuse were taking advantage of it. But Syracuse just couldn't keep up. You know what I mean? So for every 2 turnovers at Georgetown, I mean really bad turnovers, like I'm going to pass the ball here and the ball will go there. It was just really weird, wacky, almost like watching those old Wacky World of Sports type bloopers type turnovers. And but for every turnover that Georgetown had, they would score 6 times. You know what I mean? So Syracuse, even though they had their opportunities to off the transition to get the turnover and score, they just couldn't keep up in general. So they couldn't stop Georgetown. So it was a really good game. I feel as though that's one of those that you need to watch, run that back and watch that again. It's a really fun game to watch. Besides, during the commercial breaks, they go all into the history of Georgetown and Syracuse. It was great to watch. It's just one of those games where, like I said, I can sit and watch any basketball game as long as it's competitive. It doesn't matter what team, you know what I mean, and be satisfied with that. And that's one of those games where I was very satisfied with it. Like I said, near the end, it became a clusterfuck with turnovers. But still, overall, very satisfied. Great game to watch. You know what I mean? However, we need to talk about this because in the college level, once again, I didn't think that people still shot free throws this way.
Here we go. Miles Simon and I were talking to this young man earlier in the year and asking him why. Because he's got to break regular stroke. Yeah, no, this kid is so smart, Brett. He was breaking it down. It was way above my head. Talking about his less moving joints with the underhand free throw. Hey, it works for him.
Let's be honest here. It's weird to watch people still shoot that way these days. It's fine if you want to. But to hear the commentators say that this guy went into detail about how it's resting his joints, bruh, it's a free throw. If you are where you are supposed to be, D1, close to elite basketball player that's possibly going to make the NBA, you're telling me that you're worried about your joints. Free throw. Free throw. No one guarding you, nobody hacking you, nothing like that. You're worried about your joints. Seriously, mind you, you're at the foul line, so you were obviously fouled to get into that position, right? But free throw, and you're talking about resting your joints. Seriously? Are we really going here? So, yeah, I don't know. But let's move on. Go back to the pros in the NBA, and once again, let's just show just more goofy shit that's going on. Because for those who don't know, Milwaukee Bucks and the Chicago Bulls played. I sat and watched the game, all right? But I don't understand if the scorekeepers know what's going on because when the Bucks score, they're giving points to the Chicago Bulls. Now, wait a minute, all right? It's one thing if this is in, part of this game where everyone's going back and forth and they're scoring. It's the first score of the damn game. Who's not paying attention? That's what I'm trying to figure out. All right, you got to be kidding me that the score he was, we're just going to give it to the Bulls. How is that possible? But there's more, all right? There's more. Wait till, you saw the time, how much was on there. I want you to see the time clock now to see exactly what they do to try and correct this problem with the score.
Got into a little bit of the basketball discussion and talking with both of these coaches. It always turns back to Craig and storytelling and things that they hear from these guys. I appreciate some of the players being available to us too, Dennis, because Dwayne Wade sort of giving the piece out. It was a great piece that Ernie Johnson had.
So 35 seconds went by, about 35 seconds, but and I have to say this, all right? Anybody's played basketball, 35 seconds is a long time in basketball. You wait 35 seconds to change the score. Really? Really? And then also, on top of this, who the hell misses 2 free throws in a row? Who does that? What's going on here? But yeah, it's one of those things that, once again, it's just the NBA. Look, I understand this is just one of those ha-ha jokes, you know what I mean? Scorekeeper, but still, it's almost embarrassing because it's the beginning of the game, you know what I mean? Because it's the first score of the game. It's not, you're in the trenches and people are scoring back and forth, so you can, kind of get mixed up. First score of the game, what's going on? Who's not paying attention? Someone's not doing their job, clearly, you know what I mean? However, people who are not doing their job, we have to talk about this. Philadelphia 76ers. Again! Philadelphia 76ers. Yes, that's right. For those who don't know, Nerlens Noel came out not too long ago, and because he was activated on the roster, he played about 8 minutes towards LA Lakers. Only 8 minutes. Then he comes out afterwards, because they lost to the Lakers, comes out afterwards and says, "Dog, I'm too good to only be set back to 8 minutes. That's right, I'm too good to only play 8 minutes. Mind you, this is the same Nerlens Noel who requested a trade, okay? I'm too good to play only 8 minutes. So the Sixers organization was like, okay, fam, you too good to play only 8 minutes? We got you on this one. This is not the way you treat players, dude. Look, I put it like this. The Sixers organization, the front office, clearly, and the coach, have no idea what the hell they're doing. I say this due to the fact that even if you wanted to trade Nerlens Noel, okay? Let's just say you want to, all right? Because mind you have to remember, last season, Nerlens played pretty much all last season. So he was the guy last season because everyone else was hurt and no one else was around. He was the guy. Okafor was around, but then he got hurt, remember? So Nerlens was the guy. Nerlens has been there. He's been the guy. And everyone was so happy about Nerlens and playing. Remember when he first started? Remember he played in Summer League. Everyone, everyone loved Nerlens Noel. Now that this is happening, you're going to tell me, now that you're getting all these pieces, you got Okafor playing, you got Embiid playing. They still don't look good together. But Embiid, if Embiid doesn't score, no one scores at this point. But you have to understand, you have Nerlens Noel, who's fine, who's healthy, who's active, who wants to play. And you're telling him that he's not going to be in the rotation. This makes no sense. None whatsoever. Now, Sixers fans have said, well, we got a lot of bigs. We can afford to trade him. I'm thinking to myself, weren't y'all just praising the fact, not all these times, all these drafts, that yeah, we got all these bigs. We got all these bigs. We're going to use all these bigs. Didn't you say that? Now all of a sudden it's, well, we can get rid of them because we have too many bigs. Really? Y'all change y'all tune really quickly. You know what? I'll show more of that when y'all change y'all tune. But the fact is, Nerlens Noel, I put it like this. The Sixers, if you are going to grant him a trade, you should let him play. That's right. Not because, you're getting rid of a guy who can be valuable to our team. No. You let him play so he can get his value up even more so that you can get more for him when you decide to move him. Just saying. The Sixers organization has to be, the front office, since mid-2000s, it's been horrible. Have been horrible. Since the Billy King era, it's been horrible. You can't tell me that it was okay, the contracts he was giving out. And now we have this process, which isn't a process. And we'll talk about that a bit, because I have even more, more evidence that it's a bunch of bullshit. But let's start with heart, shall we, when it comes to the Sixers. I want you to listen to what Allen Iverson said over the weekend, because, we celebrated Allen Iverson again. Came out halftime and had some memorable things to say to the fans. I want people to listen to this because you New Age Sixers fans who don't understand what it means to watch a player with heart, this is what you had to hear because you don't see this on the court.
I'm not taking anything away from the new era and the way things go now. but I could never, ever, ever sit out a game if something wasn't broke. Or I just simply couldn't play because I thought about y'all and y'all wanting to see me. And I always wanted to put on a show for y'all, even if it was the worst game that I had. But the effort was definitely gonna be there. That's why I love y'all, because even when I had bad games, y'all knew I gave everything I had to y'all. Everything. And I love y'all, Philadelphia. And I respect y'all, Philadelphia. And I'ma always be Philadelphia in my heart. I love y'all.
I hope y'all understand what he is saying, because we don't see this with this team. No, we don't. Think about it. You think about it real quick, all right? When you've grown up and you've watched Iverson, you watched Kobe, you watched MJ, you watched all these players, ice cold in their veins, killers on the court who will take you down and just look at you like it's just another day at the office. That's what we're used to. So when we see this team, it's an absolute joke. Now, I'll put it like this. Embiid, I get it. He's trying hard. He does try hard. We just saw not too long ago. He jumped into the stands trying to save a ball and everything. He wants to win. I get it. Like I said, he gets a pass because, if he doesn't score, pretty much no one else does. But he's the one who puts out maximum effort. He gets a pass, okay? The rest of this team is a fucking joke. They don't care. And you can't tell me, after what you just heard with Iverson, all right, when it comes to having a bad game, but there's effort and that you care, that you can say that with this team. Matter of fact, let's start already, all right? Let's talk about, once again, the flopping machine known as Ilyasova, because now players are starting to get pissed off at him, and you know what? Saudi commentators don't help at all. I'm surprised they weren't even fined for this.
You touched on, Mark. I thought it came down from the offices above that they're just not going to tolerate that anymore. There's the bucket. What's with the extracurriculars? I don't understand it. One's Turkish, one's Spanish. You can't understand them anyway.
Are you listening to this right now? Look, I'll put it like this, all right? Because obviously we got some salty-ass commentators. I will break this down. What do you mean? What's with the extracurriculars? What do you mean? It's basketball. People going to talk shit. It happens. It's competition. You score. Guess who score them? Talk your shit, bruh. It happens every day, all day on the court. All of a sudden, you're surprised it's happening, and then you go on to say, well, one's Turkish and one's Spanish. You can't understand what they're saying anyway. I'm surprised you were not fined for your comments. And I say this not because I'm insulted, but you have to understand, as the NBA as a whole, when they have tried to reach out to specific demographics, to bring them in, to have more of a revenue, all right? Remember, we've seen the jerseys, L Heat and stuff like that. We've seen these things, right? Okay, because they want them to come and they want them to feel welcome. When you say something like that, and in a very disrespectful tone, I am shocked that you weren't fined for your comments. And it goes to show you just how, I guess we can call him Trigger Trags too, how triggered you are, how much of a homer you can be, seriously, towards your team. You have to sit and realize that this is not professional at all, okay, when it comes to these commentators. That they will say and do whatever they have to do in order to make the team, or to either defend the team, or to make them look good. And what you're failing to realize is that that's not how commentary works. That is what you call bias. And what hurts, actually, fan bases. Because when you're looking at your home team and you're seeing all these problems and they're not calling it out, it goes to show you that they're not being truthful. Once again, we talked about the lies within the media, and here's another good example of it. Matter of fact, let's look at the fan base's perspective about this, because we talked about this not too long ago, you know what I mean? One minute y'all want to boo people, the next minute y'all want to chant. Well, again, Ilyasova. I don't know if you're booing his flopping in this one, or if you're just booing the bad play of the Sixers.
Rodriguez has Randall on a switch. Covington, another three. Robert, by the way, 0 for 6 from beyond, and the booze getting a little bit loud.
That night against the Lakers, the fans constantly booed the Sixers. That's right, booed them. on the court. Then the next game, it was, trust the process. Trust the process. I don't understand you. You have to be the most bipolar fan base I've ever seen. Seriously, I do not understand you. You should know exactly what you're getting into with this team right now. This team is nowhere, and I mean nowhere, in contention. And when I mean contention, I mean having a winning record. I mean beating over 500 teams. You're not ready for that yet. No, we're not talking playoffs. No. We're not talking squeak into playoffs and get right. No. We're not talking that. All right? That's a completely different story. That's not going to happen for at least 3 to 4 years from now. You have to understand that this process is not a process. It's not. If you're going to tell me in year 7, oh, it worked. Year 7, it worked. Mind you, you're in year 4 right now. I'm not trying to hear it. The fact is, if you keep buying into this media bullshit, then you will make you look like you are a bad fan because you can't be honest. And if you listen to those commentators, the Zoo Crew and all that, guess what? Then you look like a joke. Because they look like a joke. Because they're not telling it how it is. That's the problem. And a lot of them will tell you that they do this type of stuff. Well, you have to keep it somewhat positive. We have to say these things because they're contracted to say these things. You can't get on camera and just absolutely bury the team, even though they want to. Trust me, I talked to these, not Mark Zumoff, but I've talked to guys in the media. I can make a phone call right now and talk to a guy in the media, and he would say the same damn thing. The fact is, they have to try and sugarcoat it. But the level that Mark Zumoff and his crew, his team, his commentary team, goes to, as far as that you would disrespect, oh, well, he speaks Turkish, he speaks Spanish, who cares what they're saying? We can't understand them anyway. Pretty much what you're saying is English or get out. That's what you're saying. It's horrible to say. And like I said, at this point, when I say it's horrible to say, like I said, it's from a standpoint from the NBA because of their market, who they're trying to bring in. They're trying to bring in more numbers, and when you say something like that, you're actually alienating them. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm surprised wasn't nobody fine. But like I said, again, you have these players who want to flop. You got the fans booing. But for some reason, like I said, once again, fans, you're showing up to the basketball games with Sixers jersey on, but they don't have no numbers on them, and they don't have no player names on them. But, what's going on? You know that there's no player to really back, right? I guess you can go get yourself an Embiid jersey, but we don't know exactly what's going to happen with him either. Everything is up in the air. That's what it comes down to. That's what it is. So it's not like, oh, that's going to be our guy. He's going to be here forever. I'm going to get a jersey. You know what? I think people learned from that when they went out and bought Andrew Bynum jerseys. So as far as I'm concerned, this is nothing new. But it makes you look bad. I'm going to go to a Sixers game with just a jersey on that just says Sixers. Why don't you just wear a Sixers shirt if that was the case? It'd been a lot cheaper. I'm just saying. It would have been. I don't understand this fan base. And like I said, you see it night in, night out, especially on Twitter. People, trust the process. I'm so sick of this shit. I'm so sick of it. But week after week, you can see this. The film doesn't lie. It doesn't. The camera doesn't lie. The audio doesn't lie. You know. This is what they're saying. This is what they're doing. You know what? Speaking of more heart that Iverson talked about, how even he had a bad game, he would at least try to give it your all. I guess we should talk about Dario Saric again, shall we? Because you can't tell me that this is effort or heart.
That one was intended for Stauskas.
I thought that was coming in your direction, Mark. Maybe asking you to put up.
Now, before I say anything, all right, if that went too fast for you, please rewind it. Go back and look at that, all right? Because I'm gonna make this very clear. Rodriguez goes to the top of the key. As you can see, his man is, 10 feet away from him almost? Why didn't you pass it to him? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Pass it to your point guard. Inbound the ball to your point guard. So if he needs to swing it over to Stauskas, mind you, that's a triangle almost, all right? Because you're inbounding the ball, swing it over to the end. That's what you do. You don't try and inbound the ball by throwing it across the court and into the fucking stands, especially with the game on the line. That's not effort. That's not heart. That's not skill. That's not paying attention. What the fuck is going on? This is what I mean. Guys don't care. They don't care. It's quite obvious. The guy, you can see, Rodriguez is wide open. He's wide open right there at the key. He's only a couple steps away from you. Give him the fucking ball to get the ball in play. No, you pass it all the way over there. You throw it over everyone's head. That makes no sense. And you can't sit here and tell me you're going to defend that shit. Well, if he caught the ball and he would have shot a 3, we'd be back in the game. I'm not trying to hear that shit. Systematic rotation of passing. That's what you need to do. You don't have to have an automatic triangle offense every time. But in that case, you give Rodriguez the ball so that he can facilitate to someone else. That's what you do. And the fact that this happened is absolutely ridiculous. I want to know where the heart is there. I want to know where the skill is there. I want to know where the effort is there. I want to know where the responsibility is there. And I mean responsibility taken. Because that falls back on the coach. Not just the players. That is a coach issue. You can't sit here and tell me that Brett Brown was like, I'll allow it. You can't tell me that. Just not over the weekend. Okafor went 0 for 10. He went 0 for 10. And then what happened? Brett Brown got on the podium and was like, he had a good game. He went 0 for 10. He was like, but his defense was good. Let me tell you something about defense, all right? It's one thing if he's a lockdown defender, but Okafor isn't a lockdown defender. So don't give me this crap about his defense, okay? He's a big man who's supposed to be, defending, blocking shots and grabbing rebounds. But on the offensive end, he needs to be a factor. Once again, Joel Embiid cannot do everything. But for Okafor to go 0-10 and for you to get on the podium and be like, everything's fine. I'm proud of him. It's a bunch of bullshit. You gotta be kidding me. I'm not trying to hear that these players' ego have to be coddled and they're so sensitive. No, it can't happen. When Okafor does them, have you watched the commercials? Sixers fans, have you watched the commercial every time the Sixers come on? Okafor score, what do you do? Oh, and they're flexing and all. So it's all good and gravy when he's scoring. But when he's 0 for 10, he don't have nothing to say, and then the coach got to come out and be like, everything's fine. Bullshit. You can't become a better team if you don't hold your players accountable. And the management that you're having, where players who clearly, Nerlens Noel can play for more than 8 minutes. We know that. We know what he can do. We've seen what he can do. And the fact that you're going to tell him, okay, you think you're better? We'll just keep you out the rotation altogether. Are you fucking serious? Like, come on, man. It's a train wreck. At this point, by the time Simmons comes in, and you have all these pieces, they will not play together. They won't. And that's what we've wanted to see. That's what we've been waiting for, right? We've been waiting for the entire time. Oh, we got these great draft picks, these number 1 draft picks, first-round draft picks. I cannot wait to see how they get together and gel and how it'll work. I told you before this shit wasn't going to work. I'm done. I am so done with this when it comes to the Sixers and the front office and these blind-ass fans who think as though this is just trust the process. Look at the shit for what it is. Look at it. Look at it. Unreal. Anyways, before I'm finished, a small update, right, about boxing. Guy I fought, y'all saw the footage, hasn't come back yet, which is interesting, because he has a fight coming up on the 2nd of January, so we'll see if he shows up. But if not, that's going to piss off his opponent, because his opponent's been working hard. That, to me, is just absolutely ridiculous. That is, and from a boxing aspect, look, if you take a loss, you take a loss. You got to be able to get up, dust yourself off, and get back in the ring. I know if I perform bad in the ring, then I want to be in the ring the next day. I'm going to be the first in the ring the next day. You know what I mean? That's just how it is. That's what should drive you. You know what I mean? Like I said, if you're losing, then you have to be learning something. And if you're telling me you're losing and you feel as though you've learned nothing from it, and you just want to be a salty little bitch and you want to just run away, then you really didn't have it in you. You really didn't. Felt like it was a waste of my time going into that fight. But speaking of other fights, I guess I should end this with Bernard Hopkins. As we know, Bernard Hopkins over the weekend had quite the fight with Smith Jr. Now, I put it like this. We knew going into this fight, anyone who's watched this kid, we saw what he did for the Fanfara. This guy can hit a ton. This kid's the real deal. You know what I mean? He's legit. So, Bernard Hopkins fighting him. As you know, Bernard Hopkins is always a slow fighter. He starts slow. He analyzes. He catches defenses. Now, for anyone who's been watching this fight, who watched the fight before, the highlight of the fight, Bernard Hopkins did, I would say, after the second round, he did a really good job of limiting Smith to punches. At one point, Smith was only landing consecutively 8 punches per round. And as you know, Hopkins only gets stronger as the fight goes on. That's how he fights, okay? However, Smith decides to end things a bit early with a combination, and he sent Bernard Hopkins out the ring. All right? Okay. Guy's got power. It was a legit punch. I ain't mad. You know what I mean? It's something he's like, oh, okay, fine. What bothers me the most is that after it happened, Bernard Hopkins protests that it was a push at first. That's what he said. It was a push. He was pushed out the ring. He wasn't hit. He was pushed out the ring. And mind you, this went on for, 10 minutes during the fight, you know what I mean? Like, he had 20 seconds to get back in the ring. Apparently, he hurt his leg, which is why he didn't get back in the ring, all right? But then they showed it to him on the big screen, all right? And he was like, it's a push. And you showed it again, and he was punched. And he was like, well, it wasn't a punch. It was the momentum that knocked me out the ring. Yes, Bernard, the momentum of his punch knocked you out the ring. Not just his forearm grazed you and you fell out. No, it was a legit punch. You have to be able, and we've seen this from Bernard before, Bernard Hopkins. When he loses in a certain fashion, he always complains about things. He always whines about things. Mind you, Bernard Hopkins is a good guy. He's a great guy. He's a great boxer. He is a legend in that business. You can't take anything away from Bernard Hopkins. You can't, all right? But he tends to get like this at times. You know what I mean? He's playing his game. That's what it is. Now, it was hilarious to see that even afterwards, he left the ring, went into the back, all right? Did the interview in the back while he was sitting on the couch, and still protested that it was a push. It was a momentum that knocked him out the ring. He wouldn't give the guys credit that he punched him out the ring, which is kind of lowbrow. Kind of is. Let's be honest here. We know exactly what happened in that fight. We know what happened. However, the next day, and I thought that Bernard, when someone's that salty, they get low. You know what I mean? They duck down for a bit. They'll come back and resurface later. But no, the next day, Bernard Hopkins came out and was like, I want to thank everybody for coming on Twitter. I want to thank everyone for, supporting me and coming out and everything. And it was very nice of him to do. However, I would like to see him still give Smith his credit. But I understand. You're not going. You're kind of salty. You're kind of mad about it. You didn't want to go out that way in your last fight. But dude, you're 51. You were fighting a guy who was a hell of a lot bigger than you, a hell of a lot stronger than you, a hell of a lot faster than you, a hungry fighter who's definitely, who's holding the title. And I understand you're wily, your experience and things like that, but let's be honest here, all right? We knew that Joe Smith was going to be a problem. We knew that. Didn't know it was going to be that bad, but we knew that, you know what I mean? Anyways, like I said, have a great retirement, Bernard Hopkins. I'm sure we will see him during his commentary. And one thing I will say that made me mad about all of this, okay, is that when all this went down and Bernard Hopkins is saying everything, you got Roy Jones. First off, I don't know why you got Roy Jones to do this, all right, do the commentary work. But Roy Jones is sitting there with a smile from ear to ear. And it's kind of messed up because anybody who knows the rivalry between Bernard Hopkins and Roy Jones, you should know that Roy Jones should have not been on that, on that roster at that night to do that fight. He shouldn't have been. You should have found someone else. Roy Jones, because Roy Jones, look, Bernard Hopkins going to be Bernard Hopkins. He going to do this, he going to do that. This is what he do, blah, 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 blah. And like, you can tell Roy Jones, you can tell the way Roy Jones is talking. It's really triggering Roy Jones back to his past when he fought Bernard Hopkins. And it's not working well for Roy Jones. But then again, Roy Jones isn't that great of a speaker anyway. But you can tell at times, it was just scrolling in the back of his head, almost like a Rolodex. It was just scrolling like, oh my God, this is what Bernard did then. This is what Bernard did then. And this is the reason why I didn't like Bernard when he did this. You can tell. So when Bernard fell out the ring and everything, Roy Jones is like, I can talk about this? I can talk about this. Like, he couldn't wait to talk about it. I thought that was a little lowbrow from HBO too. I really felt it was. Because let's be honest here, regardless of what Roy Jones says at that point, it's not like Bernard and Roy are going to fight. You know what I mean? It's not like they're going to get in the ring and fight afterwards. So it's just one of those things. I feel as though he shouldn't have been on, you know what I mean? Especially for Bernard Hopkins' last fight, retirement fight. He shouldn't have been. Listen, he could be there in attendance. He shouldn't have been on the mic. He shouldn't have been. You should just let Hopkins go out in grace. And as we saw after he got knocked out, there was nothing graceful about it. It got a little ugly. a little delusional, and then you add Roy Jones on top of it, which is like adding more salt to the to the table. So yeah. Anyways, I believe I'm done for the week. It's been a good week. Had a lot to talk about. I think I had a lot to bitch about too. But regardless, hopefully you enjoyed the video and you can see exactly what I've been talking about and why I made the points I did today. Anyways, I will talk to you later. Y'all be safe. Y'all have a good one. Like I said, Christmas is coming up. Y'all have a good, happy holidays. I'll talk to you then. I'm out.